What's going on, guys? My name is Devante, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make progress bars in Python with the Tqdm library. So let's jump into it. The first thing we want to do is import our libraries. So since I'm using a Jupyter notebook, I'm going to be using the notebook submodule and import everything under it. I'm also going to be using the sleep module from the time library. So the first usage I'm going to go over is an iterable-based usage with Tqdm. So let's say I want to iterate over a list of numbers. So I can say for number in Tqdm, my iterator, and then I name my iterable. So I can use the range function, which will basically return a list of, let's say, 100 numbers. And I want to tell my thread to sleep for 10 milliseconds between every iteration. This is what it looks like. That's the most basic usage you can do. So instead of doing Tqdm, you could say for number in T range, which is basically a shorthand version for the above code. So you can directly name the amount of numbers you want in your list, tell your thread to sleep for demonstration purposes so it doesn't go too fast. And there you go. If I wanted to manually control my progress bar with Tqdm, I could use the with statement. So I could say with Tqdm, and I'll use the keyword argument total, which means the total amount of iterations that Tqdm expects. I'll say 100. And I want to name my progress bar as pbar. Within my with statement, I want to say for I in range, let's say 10. So I want to iterate over 10 integers. I want to sleep my thread for 10 milliseconds. And then finally, I want to tell my progress bar to update. And since I have a total of 100 iterations it expects, but I only have 10 integers, I'm going to increment my progress bar 10 every time for every iteration. And there you go. You can see every time the percentage is incremented by 10 each time. And just to note, the with statement is optional with Tqdm. You can also directly assign Tqdm to a variable because in Python, functions are first-class objects. So let's say I want to name my progress bar as pbar, and I want to assign my Tqdm iterator to my variable. I can, just as before, tell Tqdm I expect 100 iterations. So now we have our progress bar assigned to a variable. So I'm going to iterate over a list of 10 integers, and then I want to manually update my progress bar with the update method. And I want it to update 10 increments every time it iterates. So let's see what it looks like. So there you go. You can see every time it iterates, it updates by 10 increments. You should also remember to close your progress bar after it's done if you're going to assign Tqdm to a variable. So we can do this with our progress bar dot close. This will ensure that the resource is closed because, as you can see right now, the progress bar shows as a green bar, which means it's completed, but before it was blue, which means that the progress bar was still open, the resource is still open. So it's just a good programming practice. With Tqdm, we can also have nested progress bars. So let's say you wanted to track the total amount of iterations, but you had some sub operations you wanted to do. So let's say our outer for loop is going to be for I in T range. So I want to say, let's say 4 iterations. And we can also name our progress bar and give it a description. I'll say iterations. And then within our first loop, we're going to have our second loop. So our second progress bar. So I'll say for j in Tqdm. So I'm going to have a list of 200 integers. So I'm going to be iterating over. And I want to name my inner progress bar as my progress bar. And let's give it a number so we know which one it is. And let's say at the end of each iteration, we want our progress bar to disappear and refresh with a new one. So I'll say leave equals false. So let's see what it looks like. So you see our first outer progress bar, our inner progress bar, and you can see that each time it iterates, the inner progress bar disappears because we have this keyword argument. What I'm doing here is basically passing my integer from the first loop into a string formatter. So that will basically show me which progress bar I have. So you can see it's number 1 right here, number 2, number 3, and number 4. That's it. We can also use Tqdm with the Pandas library. So let's take a look how this is done. Let's import Pandas as PD. Let's also import NumPy as NP. And we can create a data frame of random integers by doing df equals pd.dataframe. And within, we're going to use the NumPy random integer method to generate basically a set of random integers for us. So np random randint, and let's say we want some random integers from 0 to 100, and we want 100,000 rows and I don't know, 6 columns. So there we go. And let's say I want to register Tqdm with our pandas library. So what can we do? We just name tqdm.pandas, and within we can give it some optional keyword arguments such as a description. So I'll say pandas progress bar. And don't worry about this warning. It's just a future warning. Let's say we want to apply a certain function to our data frame. We can, instead of using the apply method, we can use the progress apply method from Tqdm. So you can say df.progressApply. And let's say I want to use a lambda function. So I want to square each element in my data frame. Let's see what this gives us. That was super fast, but you can see our description popped up that we specified right here. And you can have other keyword arguments, just as you can with the normal Tqdm iterator. And there's our data frame. So we applied a function to our data frame. You can also log the results of your progress bar to a file if you want to. So let's see how this is done. I'm going to use the example I did before with my nested progress bars, and I want to open a file with the with statement. So I'll say with open, and I'm going to name my file progress.txt, and I'm going to open it in write mode and name my file pointer as pfile. And within that, I'm going to iterate over my first progress bar. So I'll say for I in pbar1. And let's say I wanted to print the results or write the results of my first progress bar, my outer progress bar here, to my file. So I should expect 4 statements in my file. What can I do? Well, I can use the name of my file, pfile.write, and I want to write a string representation of my progress bar to my file. So I'm going to use a string formatter, which is denoted by this, the %s, and then I name my progress bar right here. So what this should give me is 2 progress bars that show up on screen, but every time I'm writing my outer progress bar status to my file. And don't forget to close your first progress bar if you're going to use this notation, because remember, if I'm assigning my Tqdm iterator to a variable, then it's good practice to close it. And you should also close your file. So let's see what this gives us. So I can see we have our first outer progress bar, and each time I should expect that status gets written to my file. Here's my progress bar file, and if we open it, that's what we get. So the formatting is not that good, but that can easily be fixed. I'm going to insert some escape sequences, which is denoted by the \n. And let's see what it looks like now. And there we go. Now let's see how we can modify the color of our progress bar in Tqdm. So let's bring up our command prompt. I'm going to start the Python interpreter and import Tqdm. I'm also going to need the Colorama module to modify the style and color of my progress bar. And finally, I want to import the sleep module from the time library. So let's say I want to iterate over a list of integers. You can pass the bar format keyword argument, such as the following. So you can say in curly braces, I want the left side of my progress bar, some string, the middle part of my progress bar, which is the progress bar itself, another string, and then finally the right part of my progress bar, which is the elapsed time and the estimated time. And in those strings, I can pass from Colorama. They have a foreground module. It has a bunch of color attributes. So let's say I wanted my progress bar to be cyan, for example. And finally, I can name the reset flag for my second string here. So let's see what this gives us. And there you go. Just like that, we have a colored progress bar. It also has a bunch of other colors, so you can mess around with it and see what other colors you like. Let's say magenta, for example. And like that, you have another color. Let's say I didn't want a smooth progress bar. You can have the ASCII keyword argument, and let's say true. And this will basically, for each iteration, it'll run through a ASCII character, 1 to 9, and then it will output a hash symbol. So let's see what this looks like. Just like that. So you have a hash symbol at the end, and during your iteration, it runs from 1 to 9. You can also edit the length of your progress bar with the n columns keyword argument. So let's say I want the total width to be only 50. And there you go, it's shortened just like that. And if I wanted this to be a dynamic progress bar, so if I resize the window right here, you can see that the progress bar goes on 2 lines. But if I want it to be dynamic, what I could do is simply pass the dynamic and the columns keyword argument to be true. We can also change the units of our iteration. What we can do is simply pass the unit keyword argument. And let's say instead of iterations per second, I wanted numbers per second. So right here, we have that. With the ASCII keyword argument, you can also change the characters that your meter, your progress bar meter, has when it's iterating. So you can say ASCII, and then within the string, put the characters that you want your progress bar to have. So let's say I want it to start off as a dot, and then I want lowercase o, and then in uppercase O, and then finally a hash. And there you go. You can see it starts off as a dot. It's quickly going from a lowercase o, an uppercase O, and then a hash at the end. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys liked the video, leave a thumbs up. If you guys didn't, leave a thumbs down. And subscribe for more programming tutorials. That's all. Take care.